Hello, welcome to section 2. In the previous section, we learned about the Puppet components, ecosystem, and terminologies. In this section, we will learn about managing Puppet infrastructure, modules, and environments. In this section, we are going to take a look at the Puppet server in production and managing certificates, introduction to community modules and Puppet Forge, managing module dependencies and library and Puppet, managing environments with R10K, understanding roles and profiles, writing and managing a module, and finally, understanding and using Hiera. In the previous video, we went through an overview of the Puppet language and learned to write a basic module. In this video, we will learn about configuring parameters on the Puppet server for optimal performance in production, managing certificates on the Puppet server using alternate DNS names for the Puppet server certificate, and using the auto-sign feature to automatically sign client certificate requests. The default Puppet server configurations work for most infrastructures. However, a very important consideration when configuring the Puppet server is the memory requirement. The maximum heap size configured with the XMX option is the maximum memory that the Java virtual machine can request from the operating system. It is advised that the minimum heap space that is configured with the XMS option should be equal to the maximum heap space. The default value of 2 GB of memory is good for small infrastructures. However, with the increase in the size of infrastructure, this value needs to be increased accordingly. Another option, the heap dump on out-of-memory error, can be configured, which causes the JVM to dump a memory snapshot of the time when an out-of-memory error occurs in the form of a .hprof file. This file can then be analyzed in different profiling tools to find out more about the memory consumption at the time of the error. Managing certificates on the Puppet server. There are few actions that can be performed on Puppet certificates in the Puppet server. The primary actions are to list the certificates, to sign certificates, and to remove or delete certificates. To list the certificates, we need to execute the Puppet cert list command. This command gives us a list of certificate signing requests which have not been signed yet. To view all certificates, we need to add --all at the end of the command. To sign a certificate, we need to execute the Puppet cert sign command along with the agent name. If we have multiple requests, we can sign all of them at once by using the --all option instead of the agent name. Often we have nodes in the infrastructure which have been deleted or terminated, and the agent certificates are no longer valid, or we need to create a new agent with the same name as an old node which has been terminated. In these cases, the certificate needs to be removed from Puppet. To do this, we need to execute the Puppet cert clean command along with the agent name. The next thing we are going to look at is the process of using alternate DNS names for the Puppet server certificate. Just like Puppet agents, the Puppet server also has a certificate which defines the identity of the Puppet server. It contains information about the name of the certificate and the additional DNS names with which the certificate can be called by the agents. When the Puppet server is started for the first time, a certificate is automatically generated with the fully qualified domain name of the host on which the Puppet server is running. To view the certificate, we run the Puppet list --all command, and we are able to see the default key that has been generated for the Puppet master. Here the host is called Puppet master, so we see the key has been automatically named puppetmaster.local and the alternate DNS name is Puppet. So the agents will be able to communicate with this server with both the names, that is puppetmaster.local and Puppet. We have now decided that we want to access the Puppet server with additional names. If we now try to access the Puppet server with a different name, the process will fail. To make this possible, we will need to remove the existing certificate and generate a new one with additional options. To remove the certificate, we will run the Puppet cert clean command along with the certificate name of the Puppet server, which is puppetmaster.local. And there we have seen that it has removed the certificate for the Puppet server. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to run the Puppet cert generate command with the name of the Puppet server. So this is going to be the name of the certificate, and these are going to be the alternate DNS names with which we can call the Puppet Master. So we have added the names Puppet, Puppet Master, Puppet Server, Puppet Master.local. The agents will be able to communicate with the Puppet Master with any of these names. Once we execute this command, the certificate should be generated and automatically signed by the Puppet server. What we can do is now we can list the certificates. And now we can see we have a new certificate called Puppet Server.local, and the alternate DNS names are Puppet, Puppet Master, Puppet Master.local, Puppet Server, and Puppet Server.local. If the certificate is not signed automatically, we will need to sign it manually by running the Puppet cert sign Puppet Server.local command along with the allow DNS alt names option. Once the certificate is generated, we need to perform one last step. We need to add a couple of parameters to the puppet.conf file of the Puppet server. For this, we will need to open the puppet.conf file, and we need to add two parameters here. The first one should go to the main section. It is called cert name, and we will add the name of the certificate that we just generated. The next option should be in the master section, which is DNS underscore alt underscore names, and it should be a list of the DNS names that we have added as alternate DNS names for this particular certificate. We can now save this file, and the last thing we will need to do is do a restart of the Puppet server. Finally, we will look at how to use the auto sign feature to sign certificate requests automatically. As the infrastructure grows, there will be hundreds and thousands of nodes connecting to the Puppet server and making certificate signing requests. Wouldn't it be better if there was a mechanism to make this happen automatically? There is a solution to this problem, the AutoSign feature. To implement this, all we need to do is create a file called autosign.conf in the Puppet config directory, that is etc puppet labs puppet, and create whitelist entries in them in the form of DNS names with wildcards, or accept any hostname with a wildcard entry or an asterisk. By default, Puppet searches the autosign.conf file in the default config directory, that is etc puppet labs puppet. If you choose to create this file in a different location, it can be defined in the puppet.conf file under the master section with the autosign parameter and then specifying the path of the autosign file. To see this feature in action, we will go to the etc puppet labs puppet directory and create a file called autosign.conf. And for now, we will accept all nodes which are from the .local domain. We will now save this file, and then we will run the Puppet agent from one of our nodes. Previously, when we ran the Puppet agent command on our agent nodes, we had to go back to the Puppet master and sign the certificate requests manually. Since we have now added our autosign.conf file, we wouldn't need to do this. All we need to do is run the Puppet agent command with the server name Puppet server.local, that is the name of our certificate. There we see a new request being created, and it has been automatically signed by the Puppet master without any manual efforts. There's one more thing we are going to try out here, is to run the same command with a different Puppet server name. As we have already configured alternate DNS names for our Puppet server, all the other names should work. We have already tried this with Puppet server.local. The next thing we are going to try with Puppet server. Yes, and we see that it works. We are going to try it with Puppet master, and it works too. And the last thing we are going to try is with Puppet master.local, and there we see our alternate DNS names working. In the next video, we will learn about community modules and Puppet Forge.